Well, hello and welcome to the program. My name is Marie Yambo. Today in the program, the question we are asking, could increased heat have an impact on our mental health? Well, to answer that question is Dr. Pamela Kaithuru, who is an accredited psychologist, a meteorologist, and international certified addiction professional. Thank you very much for coming to the studios.
I'm glad I'm here. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you so much for being here. So, Dr. Pamela, without any further ado, let's just delve into it. You know, we've been experiencing high temperatures, you know, unusual, unlike any other time. And the question that I will ask as I was doing my research is, can high temperatures really cause mental health issues?
Okay, thank you, Mary, for the question. Yes, the temperatures has been quite high and they are on the rise, especially this January, February has been quite hot in major parts of the country. Mostly, virtually every part of the country really has experienced high temperatures. And it's not only in Kenya. You look at the Greater Horn of Africa, yes. It's also happening because, of course, of the climate change. But you ask, can the increased temperatures cause mental health? There is not a causality as it were, but it can aggravate already existing mental condition. The irritability that this discomfort brings will definitely cause one to be anxious, likely lower the mood, cause one to get irritated fast, and that can either trigger an undiagnosed mental disorder or complicate one that has already been diagnosed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the heat that people are experiencing right now, that is comfort in itself, especially for those who are already diagnosed with mental health issues. Yes. But what about for somebody who really doesn't even have any mental health issues? How does this really affect you in such a manner that you might not know that in some way, one way or another, maybe, it's actually causing you some health problems, or at least mental problems for that matter?
Of course, the heat causes a lot of discomfort in the body, affecting the physiology of the being because of the high temperatures. Of course, it also affects the social lifestyle of the person. On a normal day, you are supposed to do 1, 2, 3 things. You feel so fatigued, you feel weak, you feel you have maybe slight headaches when you expose yourself to the out there, and maybe that is what your job requires, you see. So all this discomfort causes people to feel kind of hopeless. I'm supposed to go out there and do my normal duties. I cannot go out. Or I'm going there at a risk because likely this heat is too much. I could even faint as I work. I'm feeling so thirsty and maybe my work doesn't allow me to take a break and take water, you know. All these things can aggravate a mental disorder.
You know, I was talking to you earlier, and we were talking about how the neurotransmitter, how the brain works, you know, when it comes to hydration and all that. Maybe you could actually explain to us how that works with the heat also.
Yes, of course, with the heat, the neurotransmitters are chemicals that are produced in the brain to cause us to either feel good or feel low, or instruct the brain instructs how the body to behave, isn't it? Yes. So when the instruction that is being sent is that you are in danger, it is not well. Okay. You know, of course, it makes the wellness of an individual to go down. And that's how it influences the mood and the thoughts, and therefore the behavior that we see at times of irritability, being withdrawn, feeling isolated, feeling I mean, the world is failing you. Yeah. All these things are linked with the way the brain communicates with the body.
And just like you rightly put it, sometimes people tend to stay indoors when it comes to this kind of, can I say, weather and temperatures. So that in itself, for those who already have mental health issues, can cause a lot of more isolation, if I may put it, and that can actually, can I say, aggravate the mental health illness, because now you're isolating yourself for one reason or another. Now, there are different kind of studies which have been done, and definitely high temperatures have been linked to some mental health, I don't call them disorder, but distress. Yeah. Maybe you could talk to us about some of those mental distress that someone can actually be diagnosed with.
Okay, what has been observed is that anxiety increases. Depression could increase as well. Some people reach to a point of getting psychotic, but remember, as we have seen, it's not a causality. It is about influencing and increasing. And often oftentimes you find people have not yet been diagnosed with a mental disorder. It requires something to trigger it.
Yeah.
So this disability that is happening because of the high temperatures, the lack of energy, the fear, what of crop failure, my business is failing, I cannot do what I'm supposed to do, I cannot be able to work and produce as I am supposed to, that triggers actually the anxiety. So basically anxiety and depressive moods set in, and if it is aggravated, it can become, one can get psychosis.
Is it possible for suicide cases to also increase at a time like this?
Wow. When you look at suicide, suicide is usually, when someone commits suicide, is because of loss of hope. So when this person is withdrawn and they are seeing life is getting hopeless, their health is declining, they are feeling so uncomfortable, they actually look for a way of, think of a way of escaping from the one. And that's how suicide comes in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely, like right now, people are experiencing drought and all that, but we'll be coming to the bigger picture of these temperatures, which is actually climate change. But, you know, somebody may just ask, but how do you diagnose if somebody really is being affected, you know, by the increased temperatures that we are experiencing right now? How do you diagnose that this actually is related to some? Well, you say it's not a causality. Yes.
Okay, usually as psychologists, we have the manual of mental disorders that we use for diagnosis. So when a client comes to you, you are trying to find out what is the thought of this person, and where is this thought coming from, and what emotion is it triggering, and therefore what behavior. So basically using the mental health tools that we use for assessment by virtue of the diagnostic mental disorder manual is how you are able to appreciate the fact that actually one is encountering these thoughts that are making their emotion to be lowered or the irritability to be because of the fact that the temperatures are high. Yes.
And that means, if the temperatures are you connected to maybe activities that they do and they're no longer able to do it, or how do you link that?
The activities, I cannot go out and do what I am supposed to do, so I get worried. Am I able to take care of my family? What if I go out there, just as yesterday I felt so weak and likely almost fainted, or even actually fainted? So that fear comes in. Those are the things that you try to pick from the client when they come in for therapy. And of course, people will present with the various things. I have a headache, of late my muscles are aching, I feel so weak. So when you get into the depth of it, that's where now you can be able to link it. Whatever is happening currently is what is triggering all this. And then now you are able to help the patient or the client to be able to identify actually this is the reason that this is happening.
So now, before we get to who is at risk, because then there are people who are more at risk, but there are those people who already have mental health issues and their own medication. So as we've discussed it before in this program, is that definitely the higher temperatures are also interfering with sleep patterns. And the fact that these people are also on medication for their mental health problems, the medication really is supposed to like help them relax, for them maybe help them sleep. So what is the likelihood that actually this could be affecting them and their medication as they take them?
There is a likelihood because this person is supposed to take the medications so that they can be able to relax. And yet the temperatures are high, the discomfort is too much, they cannot still get that sleep. So the effect of the medication is not felt as it ought to be. So at the end of it, you find that this person, the medication is not giving the results that it ought to give because the temperatures are too high, the person is not able to sleep or rest as they ought to. And they have the drowsiness of the medication inside of them again. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe just to mention, again, we are talking about climate change, but in this case, we're talking about the high temperatures. Who then is at risk of experiencing, mental distress?
Okay, the psychological distresses that may resort, you find there are people who have to work out there, like the people in the farms. This person is out there with the sun, probably at times with the rain. So you find they have no option but to be in the field. This person is supposed to work out there. Maybe it's a marketplace and they have no shade. These people that have to do a lot of these Juakali people out there that work outside of a shaded area or outdoors. Such people actually at risk. But then you find they are the elderly people and probably have another sickness. They are also at risk. You find a pregnant woman or a lactating mother. This could actually influence them, and including also the young children.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're just joining us, this is your health program. If you've missed any part of this program, remember you can still catch any part of this program on our social media platforms, on our YouTube, and also on Facebook. That is KBC Channel 1 TV. We are talking to Dr. Pamela, who is a psychologist and meteorologist, and she's actually telling us more about how increased temperatures affect your mental health. And Dr. I would want to take us a little bit, further, and that is to do with climate change. It's a really big topic. We are not able to discuss everything here.
Yes, yeah.
And you are also a meteorologist. And very soon, is it the EGAD report, which is supposed to be out? How significant is that when we're talking about issues of health?
Okay.
Yeah.
When we're talking about issues of health, the release of the forecast or the forecast itself will be able to detail us what are the likely impact of the expected rainfall seasons on health, just as it will influence the other sectors of the economy. So when the forecast is released, we need to be able to understand how will it affect health, so that then we can inform the responders so that they can know what to prepare for in terms of likely risks and how to intervene.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is important to be able to look out for the release of the forecast, which is supposed to be coming out tomorrow for the IGAN region. Yes.
Because, in my research, I also found out, even just an increase in 1 degree Celsius of temperature can make a difference. I know I was telling you, today it feels like it's 32, although you told me it's 29.
Yeah.
So that difference in increase in just 1 degree of temperature can make a whole difference altogether.
True, it does. Of course, when you look at the increase in temperature, you look at the fact that the rains are not falling when they should, and the amounts are not as they ought to be. It influences the livelihoods of people. You currently have seen a lot of drought situations even in our country.
And exactly what we were coming to, the issues of climate change and the impact it has. Drought, the floods, misplacement of people, loss of lives. Yeah, so
when you look at exactly like the loss of livelihoods, look at this farmer who has 500 head of cattle, and within a short season, he has lost all of it. That is a loss of livelihood. This is what he was depending on to feed his family. It is education for his children. It is medication for his family. It is also the wealth that he has. He has lost all this. The person loses hope. The person feels that their self-esteem is lowered. They are looking at the destiny and seeing, what am I supposed to do? So the worry sets in and likely could trigger a lot of mental disorders.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even those who have been displaced, remember the floods are also part of the climate change, and people who have experienced floods,
look at the conflicts.
Yeah, the conflicts, they have to move from their homes. Yeah.
When you see a conflict happening because of a resource-based conflict, you find that somebody loses a person. They lose their property in the midst of the conflict. That person is left actually totally disempowered.
Yeah, exactly.
And that disempowerment is what makes somebody to think and therefore to have emotions that will be either lowered or irritability, and therefore you can easily develop a mental disorder.
Okay.
And especially when it is happening over and over. Because you see, like in the Eastern region now, we have been told for the last 5 seasons, we have been having less rainfall in most of the region.
That's about how many years? Is it about
since 2021? Yeah. So imagine that loss of crop, loss of livestock, loss of businesses, because most of our businesses are agri-based.
Yeah.
The people in the market are depending on the crop that comes from the farm. You know, they are depending on the milk that is coming from the farm, and it is not available. They are depending on the farm produce to sell in the market. So you see it's affecting a whole chain. Yeah. If it is the fact that the food is not sufficient, the prices have gone high.
Exactly.
So the purchasing power is also affected. So it kind of influences virtually.
It has a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Okay, so what precautions can people really take? You know?
With the high temperatures, currently what we are saying, let people try to rehydrate. Ensure that you are, even if you are not feeling thirsty, take water. The body is 70% of water.
Yeah.
So when that water is lowered, it causes a lot of discomfort. It also helps to cool the body when you have enough water. So people should be able to hydrate, to try and stay in the shade if you are outdoor, or stay in the house. But of course ensure there is enough air that is circulating, so that you are able to get that. In terms of keeping cool also, people can take cold baths or even put some water to be able to lessen the temperatures, because it's about the temperatures. The temperature out here is so high until the body is so uncomfortable. So these are some of the things that people can be able to do to be able to scale through this period of high temperatures.
Okay. Because for one, we do not know how long this will be. Climate change is here with us. But again, this is at an individual level. What can governments do, you know, and especially in this particular our own government, what can they do to, you know, cushion Kenyans, for that matter, you know, when it comes to climate change, high temperatures, and mental health?
When it comes to climate change, you see our government is really putting a lot of efforts to encourage people to plant trees so that we can reforestate. It's, the government is trying to help people reduce pollution, because the less pollution we have, the better as well. The more we plant trees, the more we clean the atmosphere, and we are able to live a better life. The government is creating awareness on this climate change, and also enabling people to have grassroots interventions. You see, people know how to cope in their own environment. So this is also being encouraged. In terms of medication, medicines are also being available to be able to treat those people who need it. But as I say, with the mental health, it's a new kind of entrant. It's a kind of a new challenge that is emerging currently. So the more we empower the health workers, so that they can be aware that mental health is also a big challenge, so that diagnosis can be done early. Because the earlier we do the diagnosis, the less we have many people developing mental disorders. Because if it is identified early, it is easily managed with therapy. So we can be able to have many people at the grassroots levels responding, especially the health workers. Besides, the community also needs to know what to do. When you are faced with a situation that you have no control of, is to be able to create a positive attitude. Because here, climate has changed. It is not dependent on you so much. So then it is important you realize that this is beyond me. You talk to yourself, self-talk, talk to one another, let families engage more and more. When you see somebody with a lowered emotion, find out what is happening. Because if somebody can be able to talk about what is happening, you can help them relieve the pain that they are feeling. And when it goes beyond, please seek therapy, because we have many therapists out there, or counselors and psychologists that are available to be able to lessen the burden on our people by talking to them, helping them to see alternative ways of living life in the midst of the challenges that we are faced with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pamela Kaithuru, for your time and coming in to explain to us the connection between climate change, high temperatures, and mental health. And so thank you also there at home for taking the time to listen in. We do appreciate that. And remember, just as Dr. Kaithuru has said, be your brother's keeper. If you see a change in one of the family members or even in a friend, it is time to ask questions, and probably you could be the person that could actually help them or save a life. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. See you next time. My name is Marie Yambo.